Third point. Know, O friend, that the Qur'an has four main purposes: divine unity, messengership, resurrection, and justice together with worship. The other issues it discusses are means for realizing these purposes. Good speech requires that detailed explanations of the means and unnecessary additions or arguments not defeat the main aim. Thus, the Qur'an tends to omit or adopt an elusive or succinct attitude toward certain points of explicitly scientific import. Most people cannot understand profound divine truths without metaphors, comparisons, and parables. Since most scientific and philosophical issues require a long time to be understood, and since many scientific truths have been unveiled centuries after the Qur'an's revelation, the Qur'an refers to most such issues through metaphors, similes, and parables, while remaining succinct on points to be understood with the passage of time. Fourth point. Know, O friend, that just as a clock ticks continuously due to its parts ceaseless functioning, so does the world, which can be considered a huge, continuously active clock. When time is included, centuries resemble the hour hand, years the minute hand, and day and night the second hand. When space is included, the movements of earth and the formation of mountains resemble the hour hand, earth, through the changes observed in its plants and animals, and with respect to life and death, resembles the minute hand, and the atmosphere, through the speed of its changes, resembles the second hand. The heavens, through the changes occurring in them, the movements of their objects, the birth of new stars, and the death of old ones, resemble the day hand. The world is based on certain basic elements that manifest the acts of the divine names and the inscriptions of the pen of divine power and destiny. Although this world is moving, perishing, and transcend, journeying, and flowing like water, it is transformed into a veil covering the hereafter through heedlessness and naturalism. By encouraging the excessive study of nature and philosophy, human-centered philosophy and civilization increases this world's destiny and opacity. The Qur'an's verses, however, makes the world appear as carded wool, and its expressions make the world appear as transparent. The Qur'an melts the world through its rays, smashes its illusory eternity with reminders of death and eternal punishment, and removes the heedlessness caused by naturalism with its admonitions. With its essential character, the world convulsed in change recites. When the Qur'an is recited, give ear to it and pay heed that you may obtain mercy. This is why the Qur'an is brief, where modern philosophy and science is detailed. In contrast, where philosophy and science are brief or negligent in describing the functions of things as obedient servants of God to His commands of creation and life, and as pointing to their creators' names and acts, the Qur'an is detailed. In short, the Qur'an explains the meanings of the book of the universe and what it refers to, while science describes the material structure of its letters and their positions and reciprocal relationships. Science does not tell us that all things or creatures are meaningful words. To see the difference between the attitude of philosophy and science and the wisdom of the Qur'an, refer to the 12th word, where this difference is explained from the perspective of the Qur'anic verse. Whoever is given wisdom has truly been given abundant good. Fifth point. This point is explained in the last chapter of this book, a light from the lights of the verses of the Qur'an. Sixth point. Know, O friend, that the Qur'an stresses the aspects of things pointing to the Almighty's acts and how they manifest His names. It expounds how divine acts originate from divine names and how these names, being rays of divine attributes, encompass things. In short, the Qur'an deals with how everything's aspects point to their Creator, while science studies how these same aspects point to themselves and their causes, and what scientific or technological benefit they provide. Such a science and philosophy, long wedded to materialism, cannot judge sacred Quranic expressions. Fifth triplet. Know, O friend, that one virtue of the Qur'an, affirmed by semantics and rhetoric, is its combination of an excellent fluency of style and a firm mutual support and coherence, harmony, and assistance among its sentences and elements. There is an extraordinary correspondence among its verses and their meanings. Although revealed over 20 years on various occasions and sometimes in reply to specific questions, it is so harmonious and consistent that it could have been revealed all at once or in reply to one question. It came to establish certain rules, explain certain commandments for different cases, and penetrate the understanding of different peoples. But its wonderful arrangement and smooth style make it appear as if it had come for one case and to satisfy one test and level of understanding. Its clear expression, beautiful diction, and pure style make everyone think that it directly addresses him or her, although in reality it considers every level of understanding and knowledge. Although it came to guide all people, each to his or her level of attainment, it preserves the balance so perfectly that it seems to have been directed at only one point of attainment in its guidance. Its viewpoint takes in the entire universe and its inner and outer dimensions as if it were viewing a single page. It unveils all of its meanings and teaches them to whoever seeks to understand them. Sixth triplet. The Qur'an cannot be compared to any other book or speech. Know, O friend, that speech derives its power, beauty, and sublimity from the time, place, and occasion determining the manner of speaking and subject matter, and also from the speaker, audience, and purpose. All of these must be considered. Furthermore, if the speech contains a command or prohibition, the speaker should have a certain authority and power. The greater this authority and power, the more forceful and exalted is his or her speech. Consider the authority of the divine commands in, O earth, swallow up your waters, O sky, withhold your rain. And he said to it, the sky, and to earth, come both of you, willingly or unwillingly. They answered, we do come willingly. See how different they are from any human command, which has no authority over the sky and earth. The difference resembles that between an order from a commander who is obeyed absolutely by a powerful, obedient army and the order of someone to whom nobody pays attention. See the difference between when he wills a thing, his command is but to say to it be, and it is, and human words. Listen to, have they not observed the sky above them, how we built it and decked it out fair, and it has no cracks? And earth, we spread it out and set therein firm mountains, and we brought forth in it all kinds of delightful plants, an enlightenment and reminder for every penitent servant. And we have sent down from the sky blessed water, with which we have brought forth gardens and the harvest grain, and lofty date palms with ranched clusters, provision for the servants, thereby giving new life to a dead land. Even so shall be the resurrection. Listen to these divine words. See the difference between the descriptions of the true owner, whose comments are absolutely influential and who describes his acts by enumerating his favors, and the shallow human descriptions unrelated with the divine acts and favor. How vast is the difference between the angels of the words of the Creator of the sun and the moon, which diffuse the light of guidance, and those of human beings blowing on the nuts of their vain ambitions. How different are the words of the Qur'an, mother of pearls of guidance and sources of the truths of belief and the essentials of Islam having issued from the supreme throne of the All-Merciful. They comprise the eternal address embedded in divine knowledge, power, and will. How different are they from the hollow human words of fancy and desire? The Qur'an is like a tree that has sent forth its branches, come to live, blossomed, and yielded the fruit of the Islamic world, its spiritual values, principles, perfections, and purified scholars and saints. Many seeds produced by this illustrious tree as principles of conduct have grown into fruit-bearing trees. About this, the Qur'an declares, "Say, if all humanity and jinn gathered together to produce the like of this Qur'an, they could not produce one like it, though they were helpers of each other." The Qur'an is unique. The beauty of its order and composition, the originality and uniqueness of its styles, the superiority, excellence, and clarity of its explanations, the power and truth of its meanings, and the purity and fluency of its language are beyond compare. Its meaning is so comprehensive that all principles of exacting jurists, tests of those famous for their knowledge of God, and paths of all purified, perfected scholars to God have all originated in it. It has remained original and fresh throughout the ages, becoming ever fresher over time. It has satisfied all levels of knowledge and understanding in every age and silenced those most distinguished in rhetoric and eloquence. Humanity has been unable to produce even one verse like it. So, the difference between it and human words is as great as that between the highest heaven and earth. Indeed, no human words can be compared with it. O God, for the sake of the Qur'an and of Him to whom it was revealed, illumine our hearts with its light. Make the Qur'an a cure for our illnesses and a companion for us during this life and after death. Make it a confidant in the world, a friend in the grave, an intercessor on the day of judgment. Make it a light on the bridge, a veil and cover from the fire of hell, a companion to paradise, and a guide and leader to all good. Do this through your grace, mercy, generosity, and favor, O most munificent of the munificent, most merciful of the merciful. Bestow blessings and peace on the one to whom you sent it, and who you sent as a mercy for all the worlds, and on his family and companions, as will please you and himself, and as will be approved, O Lord of the worlds. O Revealer of the Qur'an, for the Qur'an's sake, make this book say this prayer on my behalf when death has silenced me. Amin, 1,000 times Amin. In conclusion, the three greatest and most universal things that make our Lord known to us are the universe, the seal of the prophets, and the Qur'an. Prophet Muhammad has a universal personality. His prophethood and sainthood are confirmed by predictions in the earlier revealed scriptures, the marvels he himself or were connected with him prior to his prophethood, the approximately 1,000 miracles performed during his prophethood, and his very person or character. Such questions as, why was the universe created? Who are we? Where do we come from? What is our purpose or final destination? Are answered in the Qur'an. If the prophets had not lived, existence would have no value and meaning, and we would not know why the universe exists. The prophet is the epitome of the all-merciful love of his creatures and the embodiment of the Lord's mercy for them. The prophet transformed his hard-hearted people into teachers of humanity and masters of civilized peoples by conquering hearts and minds. He subjugated spirits and egos and became the beloved of hearts, the teacher of reason, educator of selfhood, and ruler of spirits. The prophet did not fear his opponents, for they could find no gap in his absolute sincerity, enthusiasm, and character. He speaks of and warns people of awesome events, of matters that captivate hearts and inspire minds to reflect. He brings good tidings of a happy future both in this world and the hereafter. He is a decisive argument and definite evidence of eternal happiness. Following his guidance leads to eternal happiness. He seeks eternal existence, meeting with God, paradise, and God's good pleasure. Since that age of happiness, the Prophet's guidance has yielded hundreds of thousands of illustrious scholars in the religious and natural sciences, as well as in the religion's inner dimension. The arguments for his prophethood are uncountable. The Qur'an, which makes the Lord of the worlds known to us, deals with many issues in different degrees of priority. Answers to such questions as, what is the Qur'an? Why are its verses repeated? Does it mention scientific facts? And if it does, how are they mentioned? How do the Qur'an and science approach the universe? What are the Qur'an's main purposes? And why is the Qur'an so eloquent? The Qur'an is unique, beyond compare, eternally original and fresh. The third treatise, Arguments for the Resurrection. In the name of God, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate. All praise be to God, to whose necessary existence and unity all atoms and compounds of the universe testify with the tone of their helplessness and poverty before God. Peace and blessings be upon his prophet, the discoverer of creation's secrets and the key to its science of God's existence and unity, his fellow prophets and messengers, the angels nearest to God, and the righteous servants of God who lie in the heavens and on earth. There is a fundamental, close relationship between the 6 pillars of belief, so much so that one cannot be considered without the others. Believing in one requires believing in the others. Given this, without proceeding to explain the arguments for the resurrection, it is proper to expound briefly some arguments for God's existence and unity and the Prophet's messengership. Some arguments for God's existence and unity. Know, O friend, that those who follow naturalism and adhere dominicality to causality find the door of thanksgiving to the Creator closed and the door of associating partners with Him opened. Associating partners with, unbelief in, and ingratitude to God are based on a foundation of impossibilities, for the one who creates a fruit with all of its art and meaning can create and govern earth. If people awaken from their ignorance and analyze their unbelief according to true scientific knowledge, they must acknowledge that they have attributed functions and missions to 1 minute particle that it cannot fulfill. For example, they will have to admit that each atom contains millions of machines and can produce all subtleties of art found in all creatures. Each air particle can enter all plants and flowers, trees and fruits, and work therein. If it is said that these particles do not work in the name of one in whose hand is the kingdom of all things, then each particle must have full knowledge of whatever it enters. Consider a fruit. It's a miniature of the whole tree, and its seed is like the page upon which the tree's life history is inscribed. Also, it is connected with all members of its species as well as the whole earth. Therefore, by virtue of the greatness of its art and meaning, the art of one fruit is as great as that of earth. Thus, the one who creates a fruit with all of its art and meaning can create and govern earth. Destiny draws outlines or plans according to the purposes assigned to it by wisdom, and power wields it accordingly. Know, O friend, that everything has 2 aspects: its visible form, which resembles a garment made specifically for the functions and purposes assigned to it, and its immaterial aspect, which comprises all forms it will assume during its life. This is like a circle formed by something with light attached to one end spinning around itself at high speed. An item's immaterial aspect is, in one respect, its life history determined by destiny, which we call fate or the destiny of things. Both aspects contain wise purposes for the item's existence and life. The material aspect requires power, while destiny determines its shape and growth. In other words, destiny draws outlines or plans according to the purposes assigned to it by wisdom, and power wields it accordingly. Denying God's existence and unity means attributing to every atom and natural cause as much knowledge and power as to create the whole universe. Those who refer to true scientific knowledge and truth must admit, through their ingratitude and unbelief, that every minute particle and natural cause has enough knowledge to produce garments for everything that exists, as well as for the forms they will assume during their growth. It also must have as much power as necessary to renew continually all garments torn up by the turns of events over time. Even human beings, the fruit of the tree of creation, and supposedly the most powerful cause, the most knowledgeable, and having the most comprehensive willpower, let alone minute particles, cannot fashion a suitable garment for a torn tree. However, the all-wise Maker clothes in it ever new garments while it grows, and makes its green, richly decorated, and perfectly fitting garments swiftly and easily. All glory be to Him who brings what He wills into existence by saying to it, "Be," and it is. Glory be to Him in whose hand is the dominion of all things, and unto Him you are returning. Know, O friend, that everything bears a stamp and seal particular to the One besought of all, and has signs testifying that He is its maker and owner. Out of the innumerable stamps of His oneness and seals of His being, the eternal besought of all, look at the stamp seen during spring. Perfect artistry despite abundance, perfect order despite absolute ease, perfect measure, proportion, and firmness despite incredible speed, perfect individualization despite worldwide distribution, the highest price and value despite the greatest economy, and perfect distinguishments despite absolute mixedness and similarity point to the one single Creator. On Earth's surface, we observe acts of ever-original and purposeful creation. These occur in infinite abundance, together with beautiful and perfect artistry, with absolute ease and imperfect order and arrangement, at incredible speed, with no loss of proportion, firmness, or substantiality, and in an infinite distribution of species, together with each individual's infinite beauty. These acts occur with the greatest economy or lowest cost imaginable, yet every individual is priceless and unique while having the highest correspondence and similarity between and among species despite the vast distances of time and space. They are in balance with an absolute variety, a perfect individualization of characters and features through generated from similar or even the same materials, structural principles, and organization. Each thing is enough to manifest the stamp discussed, for the infinite abundance, together with beautiful, ordered artistry, is particular to Him who has infinite power, and who is not distracted or prevented from doing many things at once. The absolute ease in perfect order and arrangement is particular to Him for whom nothing is difficult, and who has infinite knowledge. The extraordinary speed that does not affect firmness and proportion is particular to Him to whose power and command everything is submitted. The vast distribution of species in which each individual's infinite beauty is maintained is particular to Him who is unconfined by space, but near everything through His power and knowledge. Each individual's wonderful economy and abundance, which is of immeasurable value, is particular to Him who is infinitely rich and disposes of inexhaustible treasuries. The firm coherence, perfect correspondence despite vast distances, and perfect individualization of characters despite being formed of the same material show the Creator having absolute will, power, and knowledge. The coherence of the members of various species, despite the uniqueness of each individual and without the least confusion and fault, is particular to Him who sees all things and is a witness over them. He can do many things at once and hears the petition of all things simultaneously without becoming confused. The perfect correspondence and similarity in structure and form among species despite vast distances in time and space and in balance with an absolute variety, as if each member expects the order to be given to it by a single director, is particular to Him. Via His knowledge, power, and wisdom, He disposes of earth as He wills. Each creature, though generated from similar or even the same materials, has unique characters and features, and their structural principles and organization are particular to Him who has absolute will and freedom of choice. Each creature's perfect structure and beauty, despite the vast abundance of species, is particular to one whose power is so absolute and inclusive that atoms and galaxies are the same for Him. While each of these points is enough to manifest the stamp of divine oneness, they present a forceful display of the stamp of divine oneness when considered together as a single act formed one within the other. Based on this, we can understand the meaning of, assuredly, if you should ask them who created the heavens and earth, they will surely say, God. That is, when intellectually and logically awakened to this reality, unbelievers cannot help but admit God's existence and creative power.